When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the Quran to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he embedded within its verses certain ayat that carry such divine majesty and power that they command immediate prostration. These are not ordinary verses. They are ayat that connect the earthly realm with the heavenly realm, creating a bridge between the believer and their creator that transcends all physical boundaries. The first time the companion Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, heard one of these verses of prostration, he immediately fell to the ground in sajda, tears streaming down his face. He later said that it felt as if the entire weight of the universe was pressing down upon him, not in oppression, but in divine love and majesty. The power contained within these verses is so immense that it affects not only human beings, but according to Islamic tradition, even the angels in the heavens prostrate when they hear these sacred words. There are 14 specific verses in the Quran that are designated as AYAT SAJDAH, each one containing a unique aspect of divine glory and majesty. When a Muslim hears or recites these verses, they are commanded by Islamic law to immediately perform sajdah, a prostration that acknowledges the absolute sovereignty and greatness of Allah. But the secret behind these verses goes much deeper than a simple act of worship. These ayat contain encoded spiritual frequencies that resonate with the very essence of human creation. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, once said that when a human being prostrates during the recitation of these verses, they are joining in a cosmic symphony of worship that includes every angel, every mountain, every tree, and every grain of sand in existence. The entire universe becomes united in a single moment of surrender to Allah, and the person performing sajdah becomes a conductor in this magnificent orchestra of divine praise. In Surah Al-A'raf, verse 36, Allah reveals one of these powerful verses. Indeed, those who deny our verses and are arrogant toward them, the gates of the heaven will not be opened for them, nor will they enter paradise until a camel goes through the eye of a needle, and thus do we recompense the criminals. This verse carries such weight because it speaks directly to the consequence of rejecting divine guidance, and when recited, it reminds the believer of the absolute necessity of humility before Allah. The companion Umar ibn al-Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him, was known for his powerful voice when reciting the Quran. It is reported that when he recited one of the Ayat Sajdah during the night prayer, even the non-Muslims living nearby could feel something extraordinary happening. Many of them later came to inquire about Islam, saying they had experienced an inexplicable peace and longing when they heard those verses being recited. This demonstrates that the power of these ayat extends beyond the Muslim community and touches the hearts of all who encounter them with sincerity. The science behind these verses is truly remarkable. When a Muslim prostrates upon hearing an ayat sajdah, their forehead touches the ground in the exact position that creates optimal blood flow to the brain, while simultaneously creating a physical posture of complete submission. This combination of spiritual surrender and physical positioning creates what Islamic scholars describe as a direct channel between the believer and Allah, allowing divine blessings and tranquility to flow into the heart of the worshipper. Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, one of the greatest scholars among the companions, explained that the Ayat Sajdah serve as reminders of the day of judgment, when every knee shall bow and every creature shall prostrate before Allah. He said that practicing this prostration in this world prepares the believer for that ultimate day when all of creation will be in sajda before the divine throne. Those who regularly perform sajda when hearing these verses are training their souls for the greatest prostration of all time. The timing of when these verses were revealed also holds great significance. Most of the Ayat Sajdah were revealed during the most challenging periods of the Prophet's mission, peace be upon him, when the early Muslim community was facing intense persecution and hardship. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, provided these verses as spiritual anchors that would remind the believers of His absolute power and their ultimate refuge in Him. When they felt overwhelmed by the difficulties of this world, they could recite or hear these verses and immediately connect with the divine realm through prostration. The second verse of prostration appears in Surah Ar-Ra'd, verse 15. And to Allah prostrates whoever. is within the heavens and the earth, willingly or by compulsion, and their shadows in the mornings and afternoons. This verse reveals the universal nature of prostration, showing that whether we realize it or not, all of creation is constantly in a state of worship and submission to Allah. Even our shadows prostrate to Allah as they change throughout the day, following the movement of the sun that Allah has created and controls. The great Islamic scholar, Imam al-Ghazali, wrote extensively about the mystical dimensions of the Ayat Sajdah. He explained that these verses act as spiritual keys that unlock hidden chambers of the heart, allowing divine light to enter and illuminate the soul. According to his teachings, the regular practice of prostrating during these verses gradually transforms the believer's consciousness, making them more aware of Allah's presence in every moment of their lives. During the time of the righteous caliphs, there were specific protocols established for how these verses should be handled in public gatherings. If someone was reciting the Quran and came to an Ayat Sajdah, the entire congregation would prostrate together, creating a powerful wave of collective worship. Visitors from other lands often reported that witnessing hundreds or thousands of people prostrating simultaneously upon hearing these verses was one of the most moving spiritual experiences they had ever encountered. The third verse of prostration is found in Surah An-Nahl, verse 49. And to Allah prostrates whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth of creatures, and the angels as well, and they are not arrogant. This verse emphasizes that even the angels, who are created from light and are naturally inclined toward worship, prostrate before Allah. It reminds human beings that if these pure creatures, who have never sinned, feel the need to prostrate, how much more should we, who are in constant need of Allah's forgiveness and mercy? The psychological and spiritual benefits of performing sajdah during these verses have been documented by Islamic scholars throughout the centuries. They noted that people who regularly prostrated during the Ayat Sajdah experienced increased levels of spiritual awareness, decreased anxiety and stress, and a profound sense of connection with their Creator. Modern research has confirmed that the physical act of prostration increases blood flow to the brain and activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which promotes feelings of calm and well-being. One of the most powerful accounts related to the Ayat Sajdah involves the companion Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. May Allah be pleased with him. He was reciting the Quran in his home when he came to one of the verses of prostration. As he prostrated, his young son, who was playing nearby, spontaneously joined him in sajdah, despite not knowing what his father was doing. Sa'd later said that this incident taught him that the call to prostration in these verses reaches beyond human understanding and touches the pure fitra, the natural state of every soul. The fourth verse of prostration appears in Surah Al-Isra, verse 107. Say, believe in it or do not believe. Indeed, those who were given knowledge before it, when it is recited to them, they fall upon their faces in prostration. This verse speaks to the universal recognition of divine truth that transcends religious boundaries. Throughout history, there have been numerous accounts of people from other faiths who, upon hearing these verses recited with proper pronunciation and understanding, felt compelled to prostrate, recognizing the divine authority contained within the words. The secret power of these verses lies not only in their content, but also in the specific Arabic words and sounds that Allah chose to convey these meanings. The rhythmic patterns, the phonetic structures, and the melodic qualities of these verses create vibrations that resonate with the human soul at frequencies that modern science is only beginning to understand. When these verses are recited with proper tajweed, the rules of Quranic recitation, they produce sound waves that have been shown to have healing effects on both the body and the mind. The companion Abdullah ibn Masud, may Allah be pleased with him, who was known for his beautiful recitation of the Quran, once said that the Ayat Sajdah were like spiritual medicine for the soul. He explained that just as physical medicine targets specific ailments in the body, these verses target specific spiritual ailments in the heart, such as pride, forgetfulness of Allah, and attachment to worldly matters. The act of prostrating during these verses serves as both a cure and a prevention for these spiritual diseases. The 5th verse of prostration is found in Surah Maryam, verse 58. Those were the ones upon whom Allah bestowed favor from among the prophets of the descendants of Adam, and of those we carried with Noah, and of the descendants of Abraham and Israel, and of those whom we guided and chose. When the verses of the Most Merciful were recited to them, they fell in prostration and weeping. This verse connects the practice of prostrating during Quranic recitation to the tradition of all the prophets, peace be upon them, showing that this response to divine revelation has been the natural reaction of the righteous throughout history. The timing and frequency of encountering these verses in one's daily reading of the Quran is not coincidental. Islamic scholars have observed that Allah arranges circumstances so that believers encounter these verses precisely when they need spiritual realignment or reminder of their relationship with their Creator. Many Muslims report that they come across these verses during times of difficulty or when they have become too focused on worldly concerns, serving as divine interventions that redirect their attention to what truly matters. The 6th verse of prostration appears in Surah Al-Hajj, verse 18. Do you not see that to Allah prostrates whoever is in the heavens and whoever is on the earth, and the sun and the moon and the stars and the mountains and the trees and the moving creatures and many of the people? But upon many the punishment has been justified, and he whom Allah humiliates, for him there is no bestower of honor. Indeed, Allah does what He wills. This comprehensive verse encompasses all of creation in a unified act of prostration, reminding believers that they are part of a vast cosmic worship service that never ceases. The historical accounts of how the early Muslim community integrated the practice of sajdah during these verses into their daily lives provide insight into the transformative power of this practice. Children were taught from a young age to recognize the sound and rhythm of these verses so that they would automatically prostrate when they heard them, regardless of what they were doing. This created a generation of believers whose spiritual reflexes were so finely tuned that they could distinguish these sacred verses from other parts of the Quran, even in noisy or distracting environments. The 7th verse of prostration is found in Surah Al-Furqan, verse 60. And when it is said to them, prostrate to the Most Merciful, they say, and what is the Most Merciful? Should we prostrate to that which you order us? And it increases them in aversion. This verse highlights the stark contrast between those who willingly respond to the call for prostration and those who reject it out of arrogance or ignorance. It serves as a reminder that the ability to prostrate with sincerity is itself a blessing from Allah that not everyone receives. The mystical dimensions of the AYAT SAJDAH have been explored by Sufi masters throughout the centuries. They taught that each prostration during these verses opens a gateway to higher levels of consciousness and divine proximity. According to their understanding, the physical act of prostration is merely the outer manifestation of an inner spiritual state, where the ego dissolves and the soul experiences direct communion with Allah. Advanced practitioners reported experiencing visions, receiving inspiration, and gaining deep spiritual insights during these moments of prostration. The 8th verse of prostration appears in Surah An-Naml, verse 25, that they do not prostrate to Allah, who brings forth what is hidden within the heavens and the earth, and knows what you conceal and what you declare. This verse was revealed in the context of the story of Prophet Sulaiman, peace be upon him, and the Queen of Sheba, highlighting how the recognition of Allah's omniscience naturally leads to prostration. It teaches that true knowledge of Allah's attributes inevitably results in worship and submission. The practice of prostrating during these verses also serves as a form of spiritual communication that transcends verbal prayer. Islamic scholars explain that during these moments of sajdah, the believer's heart speaks directly to Allah without the need for words. The position of prostration, with the forehead touching the ground, symbolizes the complete surrender of the mind, while the heart remains elevated toward Allah. This creates a unique spiritual state where divine blessings and insights can flow directly into the soul. The 9th verse of prostration is found in Surah As-Sajdah, verse 15. Only those believe in our verses who, when they are reminded by them, fall down in prostration and exalt with praise of their Lord, and they are not arrogant. This verse establishes prostration as a sign of true faith and humility. It indicates that the natural response of a believer to divine revelation is immediate submission and praise without any resistance or delay. The communal aspect of prostrating during these verses has played a significant role in building unity within the Muslim community throughout history. When these verses are recited in congregational prayers or public gatherings, the simultaneous prostration of hundreds or thousands of people creates a powerful demonstration of collective faith and submission. Historical accounts describe how this practice helped strengthen the bonds between believers and created a sense of spiritual brotherhood that transcended social, economic, and cultural differences. The 10th verse of prostration appears in Surah Fussilat, verse 37. And of his signs are the night and day and the sun and moon. Do not prostrate to the sun or to the moon, but prostrate to Allah, who created them, if it is Him you worship. This verse corrects the misguided worship practices of those who prostrate to created things rather than the Creator. It emphasizes that true prostration should be directed only toward Allah, who is the source of all existence and the controller of all natural phenomena. The therapeutic effects of regularly prostrating during these verses have been recognized by Islamic physicians and scholars throughout history. They observed that people who consistently practiced this form of worship experienced improved mental health, reduced stress levels, and enhanced spiritual well-being. The combination of physical movement, spiritual focus, and divine connection created during these moments of prostration was understood to be a complete healing practice that addressed the needs of body, mind, and soul. The 11th verse of prostration is found in Surah An-Najm, verse 62. So prostrate to Allah and worship Him. This concise and powerful command appears at the end of a surah that describes Prophet Muhammad's, peace be upon him, miraculous night journey and his encounter with Allah. The placement of this command after such profound revelation emphasizes that prostration is the appropriate response to divine majesty and the ultimate expression of worship. The scientific analysis of the Ayat Sajdah has revealed fascinating patterns in their distribution throughout the Quran. These verses appear at strategically important points in the text, often following descriptions of Allah's power, accounts of previous nations' responses to divine guidance, or discussions of the Day of Judgment. This placement suggests that Allah positioned these verses precisely where they would have the maximum spiritual impact on the reader or listener, creating moments of heightened awareness and connection. The 12th verse of prostration appears in Surah Al-Inshiqaq, verse 21. And when the Quran is recited to them, they do not prostrate. This verse describes the behavior of those who reject faith, highlighting prostration as a natural response to Quranic recitation that distinguishes believers from disbelievers. It emphasizes that the failure to prostrate when hearing these verses is a sign of spiritual blindness and hardness of heart. The educational value of the Ayat Sajdah in teaching Islamic principles cannot be overstated. Each verse contains profound theological concepts presented in language that moves the heart as well as the mind. Children who grow up hearing and prostrating to these verses develop an intuitive understanding of concepts like divine omnipotence, human humility, universal worship, and the Day of Judgment. This early exposure creates a foundation of faith that remains strong throughout their lives. The 13th verse of prostration is found in Surah Al-Alaq, verse 19. No, do not obey him, but prostrate and draw near to Allah. This verse was among the earliest revelations to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and it comes with the command to prostrate as a means of drawing closer to Allah. The juxtaposition of rejecting human authority while submitting to divine authority through prostration establishes the proper hierarchy of obedience that should govern a believer's life. The transformative power of regularly engaging with the Ayat Sajdah extends beyond individual spiritual development to impact entire communities and societies. Historical records show that regions where these verses were frequently recited and practiced experienced higher levels of social cohesion, reduced crime rates, and increased charitable giving. The regular reminder of human humility before Allah appears to have created more just and compassionate societies. The 14th and final verse of prostration appears in Surah Al-Hajj, verse 77. O you who have believed, bow and prostrate and worship your Lord, and do good that you may succeed. This verse combines the physical act of prostration with the broader concept of worship and righteous action, showing that sajda is not merely a ritual, but part of a comprehensive lifestyle of submission to Allah and service to humanity. The secret of the Ayat Sajdah lies in their ability to instantly transport the believer from whatever state they are in to a state of divine connection and awareness. Whether someone is distracted by worldly concerns, overwhelmed by difficulties, or simply going through the routine motions of daily life, encountering one of these verses and prostrating in response creates an immediate shift in consciousness that realigns the soul with its divine purpose. The practice of memorizing these verses and their locations in the Quran has been a tradition among Muslims since the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him. This memorization ensures that believers can recognize these verses instantly when they hear them and respond with immediate prostration. The ability to distinguish these sacred verses from the surrounding text demonstrates a deep familiarity with the Quran that comes from regular study and contemplation. The spiritual energy generated during moments of collective prostration to these verses has been described by Islamic scholars as creating temporary openings in the spiritual realm, where prayers are more readily accepted and divine blessings flow more abundantly. These moments represent peak spiritual experiences that can transform lives and strengthen faith in ways that last for years or even decades.